Hello, success. Sorry about that. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. Once again, my computer is not working. It's still thinking. I never know if it's Facebook or my computer. It always works on my phone, so I'm thinking it's my computer. It is a little old. I love my computer though, but it is getting a little old. So anyway, welcome to Self-Care Sunday. I have to excuse my appearance. I am training for a half marathon, and so today I am doing some walking and some running in the opposite order. Usually I would run and then walk as like a shakeout, but I'm walking first and then I'm going to run. So that's why I'm looking. Oh, hey Kathy, what's up? That's why I'm looking like I'm gonna go for a run, and I'm all sunscreened up and greasy and stuff like that. So I like going live on my computer because it's like the wide view instead of the phone view, and it honestly just looks better on good morning. It looks better on YouTube, you know, when I put them on YouTube. So for those of you who don't know, I do take these and repurpose them on YouTube. So if you don't like watching them on Facebook, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Tina Stinson Wellness, and watch all the Self-Care Sundays videos on there. And I would love for you to kind of subscribe and follow me over there if you want. So today I am talking about how I transitioned over to a plant-based diet, when that happened. I always talk about it happening like after my stroke. I'm sorry, my dad's dog is barking because we have company coming over, so I don't know if you could hear that. But it wasn't like, it wasn't that exact like that. It wasn't like I had my stroke and then I switched to a plant-based diet. Even before I had my stroke, I was contemplating eating a plant-based diet, and I was vegetarian for like a long time. And then when I switched over, I was vegan for a while, like kind of strictly vegan. And now I'm like a combination. I would say I like calling myself vegan because I eat mostly a vegan diet, but I can't call myself vegan because sometimes I do eat eggs and I do eat honey for sure. So for sure the honey, I go through weird stages where I crave eggs and then I'll get them from, there's this woman that lives down the street from me. I'm really lucky. I live very rural, so I can get fresh farm eggs, like, you know, from healthy chickens right down the street in probably 5 different places. Like everybody has chickens here, you know. So it's very easy for me to get really healthy eggs where the chickens are being treated ethically. But I know a lot of vegans still don't agree with this, but I feel good about eating them because they're not food store eggs, honestly. So anyway, I was eating a vegetarian diet, and I had contemplated going vegan. My youngest daughter was vegan, I think, at the time. I'm trying to remember when she became vegan, but you're the same too, eggs and honey? Yeah. Like if I go, like also like if I go to a birthday party and someone offers me a piece of cake, I don't say something like, oh, I'm vegan or anything like that. I'll just eat it. You know, I'm just like, I'm not like I'm not strict with it because I feel like that's when things start getting like not fun. But I avoid dairy like the plague. It does not agree with me. And I will never eat meat. I don't crave it. I don't want it. It smells rancid to me. I don't know why, but it doesn't even smell good to me. The only thing that smells good is bacon, and I would never eat bacon because I love pigs. I would never eat bacon, but it smells good. I admit that it smells good. So anyway, it started very gradually where I was vegetarian, but I would eat fish sometimes. I don't eat fish anymore because it's really hard to find good source fish that's healthy for you. It's just not. It's a shame, but it's just not. And they're ruining our oceans with the fishing, their fishing practices. So I just don't support it. Every once in a blue moon, if I'm away at some tropical destination, I'll eat scallops, honestly, because scallops are like my thing. So that's the only thing I'll eat. So anyway, I started off like as vegetarian, eat fish sometimes, and then I stopped eating fish. I'm allergic to shrimp. And so it just like was very gradually. And then there was a certain point where I lived in this certain place where my daughter was vegan, and then across the street I became friends with this couple. They were both vegan. So I was just being exposed to it. And you know how like when things come into your life that way, it's just like it's almost like your life kind of guiding you in that direction. You can almost feel it. And so I had my stroke and I started contemplating like what's the healthiest diet for me to eat, and reading about it, you know, being introduced to different people, one of them being Rich Roll. I don't know if you know who he is, but he is a ultra runner, and you guys know that I'm a runner. And so his book, ooh, I don't remember the name of it. I'll post it below this video because it's a really great book, because he goes from like this really unhealthy, I think he was an alcoholic, like business person, successful business person, but extremely unhealthy, almost killed himself, so unhealthy, to like a vegan ultra runner. And he has a podcast now, the Rich Roll podcast. But it's a very interesting book and very inspiring. And so there were like different things on my path that I was exposed to. And also after my stroke, I started running again, even though the doctors told me I shouldn't run. You know, I think they were afraid, liability wise, to tell me that that was okay. But I just kind of decided I was going to do it because I love it. It was a big part of my life. I run races. I do races with my kids. And so this was like a huge part of my life that I wasn't willing to give up. And I honestly would rather be dead than not be active. So that was my thought process at the time. It might not sound rational, but that's how I felt. I was like, I'd rather be active. So I was basically like, let me run and see what happens. And if I drop dead, then I guess it wasn't meant to be. And that was my attitude at the time. It really was. I was miserable. So I started running again, and I've run, I don't even know how many half marathons, maybe like 15 or so. And I've run 6 Ragnars, which are 200-mile relay races where you run on a team. So I don't run 200 miles. It's a relay race. So I've run about 6 of those. I've run a marathon, multiple 5Ks, 10Ks. Like I've run so many races. And I was training at the time, right when I went vegan, I was training for a sprint triathlon, okay, which is running, swimming, and biking. And it's hard, even for a sprint triathlon, it's hard to train for that. You have to, like, all you're doing is working out. That's what it feels like. So it's like this summer, I felt like all I was doing was working out. And I was selling real estate. I legitimately would go for a swim and then a bike ride. I'd get home all sweaty. I'd jump in the shower. I'd get out of the shower. I'd still be sweating, and I'd have to go show houses. Me in my suit, sticking to my suit, all sweaty. And I was tired. I was in my 40s, and I could start to feel how long it would take me to recover after a run or after I got really sore training for this thing. And then, so it was the perfect time for me to go vegan, because when I went vegan, I went like super clean vegan. I didn't like buy like a bunch of veggie burgers. I didn't know what to eat. I was just getting started. So I ate a lot of smoothies. So I was like healthy vegan. I lost weight immediately, which made it easier for me to run. I wasn't overweight, but I lost like 8 to 10 pounds immediately. And my energy levels were like through the roof. My recovery was like, the improvement was so noticeable that I was like sold. It just like sold me. I felt so much better. And I've always been really focused on learning and learning more. I'm a health coach. I'm a certified culinary nutrition educator. I do plant-based focus, and learning more and more how to make this the most optimal diet for myself. And so I don't go into it like, oh, I'm going to eat a bunch of veggie burgers and a bunch of processed crap. I do eat that stuff, but I just try not to eat that mostly. I try to eat mostly whole food. So for those of you, I know this is the Self-Care Sunday group. It's not my plant-based group. For those of you who don't eat plant-based and don't really want to, or maybe you just want to add a few meals, that's fine. This live is for you too, because it's more about like eating real whole food, and that's what I teach in my course that I have, that my most passionate creation, which is Aligned and Worthy. It's 11 different deep level self-care practices, one of them being eat real food, using food as your healer, okay? And while I do always push a plant-based diet, or at least 80% of a plant-based diet, It's more about eating real whole food. And what I mean by that is food that grows from the earth. So like food that doesn't have ingredients. So like an apple, there's no ingredient list. Or when you are buying something from the food store, look at the ingredients list and say, what's in this and what am I putting into my body, right? So you could go and you can go down the bread aisle. And the fact that there's a bread aisle is ridiculous, the amount of different types of bread that we can buy. It's absolutely ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous, thank you, Kathy. I love that program too. It's my passion project and it's only going to get better. Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Is that if you look at the bread and you read the ingredients in most of those loaves of bread, there's a whole bunch of shit in there that you don't need and that's not even good for you. And the fact that a lot of them have like an overload of sugar and just like white flour, it's just not good for you. So like if you grab a loaf of bread, there should really be like 3 or 4 ingredients tops. That's it. And if you don't understand, if you're looking at an ingredient list of something that you normally buy, so my challenge to you today is not to transition over to a completely plant-based diet, or although I would love everyone to consider adding more plant-based meals into their life, because I'll explain why in a minute. But what I challenge you to do is look at the food that you're buying right now in the food store and read the ingredient list. And if you don't know what something is, look it up. And then tell me if you would feed that to your child or your grandchild. And if you wouldn't, then you shouldn't be putting it in your body. Because what's happening is, and then some people say things like, well, the FDA protects us. Absolutely not. They do not protect you. These companies can put anything they want in the food. They are their own police. They police themselves. The FDA does not police them, just so you know. And if you want to learn more about that, you could read some of Michael Pollan's books. Just read any of his books, and it's very informative. And you could learn more about how the food companies hide these terrible ingredients. I don't know why. Another thing is a lot of these companies that make a lot of these processed foods make it one way for the United States and they make it another way for the European Union and Australia. And a lot of the things that are banned in the European Union and Australia and other countries, most civilized countries around the world, is not banned here, believe it or not. Very harmful hormone disruptors, cancer causing, neuro disruptors. It's not the right word. I can't remember the word what I wanted to use. But these are very harmful things. Now, and the one thing that they don't test, like some people might say, well, they test these things. Maybe they test some of them. But the one thing they don't test is how these things build up in our bodies, how they react being combined with other toxins, how it affects us if we have this for every meal, okay? They don't test that, so that's why it's really important to protect yourself, because the only one that's protecting you is yourself. And I'm not just trying to be an alarmist. I'm not trying to scare you. This is the truth. Somebody that you can follow on social media who is really, really informative on this is Food Babe. I know that sounds ridiculous. But she fights against big companies to clean up their ingredient lists. Companies like Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, and so she's huge in this industry, if you want to call it an industry, of protecting you. Okay, so if you really want to learn more about what's in your food, follow her, because she is the one person I know that focuses mainly on that. And she does sell some things, like she has her own food line, but she sells things like spices and like not a lot of food, okay? And she just started doing that. She's been Food Babe. I don't know her real name, but she's been Food Babe for years. So look her up and you can learn more about what's in your food. And another way you can also realize that you're eating mostly processed foods is if you have to go to the food store every week. And what do I mean by that? If you do most of your shopping at a food store and you go in and you walk up and down the aisles, then you're buying a lot of processed crap. I do go to the food store sometimes, like Trader Joe's or something like that, but I don't buy a lot of the processed foods. I'm buying things that I can't grow in my garden or buy at a farm stand or something like that. So in the summer, you should really take advantage of farm stands and CSAs. And even if you don't have something like that in your area, if you're in like an inner city where they don't have that available, when you go to the food store, focus on shopping on the outer edge of the food store, because that's where most of the real food is. You know, so because you have, think about it, when you go into the food store, you have the vegetables, you usually have dairy towards the back, but I mean, I don't recommend eating dairy of any way, shape, or form. And then you just have the real foods with real ingredients, even though I don't recommend eating dairy or meat, honestly. I can have respect for people who choose to buy dairy from small family farms that are doing it right. There's no hormones, there's no sick animals. Same thing with meat. I can have respect for people that do that. And it's not that I disrespect people who don't. I just think that they're not informed well to how unhealthy the food they're buying is. You know, and a lot of people say, well, how do you get all your nutrients? Well, when you eat a plant-based diet, you're getting more nutrients. And this is why I recommend, I told you I would come back to this. This is why I recommend more people add more plant-based options into their diet. Because when you're eating a plant-based diet, you're actually getting way more nutrients than people who usually eat a standard American diet. Because you're eating vegetables that have vitamins, minerals, just all of these benefits, fiber. I'll get into fiber in a second. And when you're eating a standard American diet, say you're eating some meat, okay, you're eating meat from a factory farm where the animals are sick, they're filling them with antibiotics and hormones and among other stuff. Chicken is like bleached before they sell it to you. It's also pumped full of saline water. It's like you're not really getting what you think you're getting, okay? So the nutrient level of the animal is based on what the animal is eating, right? So if you're eating beef, you're eating whatever that cow is eating, and that's what's feeding its body, and that's what's going into its muscles that you're eating, right? But if that cow isn't being fed right, so most cows are not being fed the type of food they're supposed to eat, and that's why they have to feed them all these different medicines so they don't get sick. And this is truth. They actually give them, is buying organic important? Oh yes, I'll go into that. So I'll get out of the meat thing. I don't want to go too deep into that. But the fiber thing is really important. So all calories are not created equal. So if you're eating an apple, say it's 100 calories and like a thing of soda, and that's 100 calories, obviously it's not created equal. The apple, you're going to get vitamins, all different types of nutrients, and you're getting the fiber. So even though there's sugar in that apple and your blood sugar is going to go up, the fiber balances the blood sugar, okay? So when you have fiber along with what you're eating, it helps you balance your blood sugar. So even when you're eating sweet things, so an apple is not the same as eating a sugary substance, even if it's the same amount of calories. And I could do a whole masterclass on why fiber is important. Most people don't get enough fiber in their diets. You should really get between 30 and 40 grams. Although when I tell people to start amping up their fiber, and I don't mean fiber like some kind of Metamucil shit. I mean fiber from actual food, okay? I tell them to do it slowly so they don't get all bloated and gassy and uncomfortable, because that's what will happen if you amp it up from, 18 to 40 grams. You'll get stomach upset. So you'll get more of that if you start adding more plant-based meals into your diet. You don't have to go completely plant-based to get the benefits of plant-based. As far as organic goes, so this is how organic works, and there's so many people that argue so many different things. So when you're growing vegetables, the vegetables get their nutrients from the soil, and the way they get their nutrients from the soil is from the different microbes, the bacteria and everything, live microbes that live in the soil, okay? All different kinds of stuff that live in there from their roots, and that's how the vegetable gets the nutrients. Now, if you have a crop and you're spraying that crop with Roundup, right? And you're continuously doing that, and then you're also breeding the vegetables and making like the GMO vegetables to be resistant against Roundup. So you could spray even more Roundup on it, right? What do you think that Roundup is going to do to the microbes in the soil? I mean, it's not rocket science, right? It's going to kill the microbes in the soil. So then what happens to the plants over time? The plants are not nutrient dense. So they don't have as many nutrients in them because they're not being fed from the soil. And we're killing our soil. So all you have to do is Google, things about killing our soil, there's a documentary on Netflix called Kiss the Ground, and if you want to learn about how we're killing our soil and how some people are trying to save it, that documentary is really good. It's a really good documentary about this, and that's why I think it's important to try to eat organic. Okay, is it life-changing? I don't think so, but for me, it's a principle kind of a thing where I want to support the farmers that are doing organic. I don't want to destroy our soil. I want to support anybody who's not destroying our soil. That's why I grow my own food. So at least half the year, I know I'm getting organic food that's full of nutrients. I have my own compost pile, so I create my own compost and I feed my garden with the compost pile. So I'm regenerating the soil. I'm taking out of the soil by planting my vegetables in it, but I'm putting it back in with my waste from my vegetables. So it's a really easy process. On a larger scale, it's harder for these farmers to switch over when they've been doing it one way for so long. So Kiss the Ground is part of a larger project about saving the soil. And there's other documentaries on there, but that's why it's not good. Also, on top of that, when you're eating these vegetables that are sprayed with these toxic chemicals, what do you think it does to your microbiome? Okay, so our microbiome in our gut is basically all these different types of bacteria that are living in our gut. There's actually more cells of bacteria in your body than there is you. So you're being controlled and run by a bunch of bacteria in your body. Your gut communicates with your brain, and that's why when your gut gets screwed up, everything else gets screwed up in your body. Your gut is really considered your first brain. There's actually neurotransmitters in your brain, in your stomach, like you have in your brain. It's really cool when you learn about it, also in your heart. So when you're eating all this food with these chemicals on it, what do you think that's going to do to your gut? Okay, we have to really pay attention to what we're putting in our bodies. It's kind of like even your mouth has a microbiome. So if you're using Listerine every day, you're killing all the healthy bacteria in your mouth too. So you have more of a chance of getting your mouth overrun with the wrong bacteria, like say yeast or something like that. It's much more healthier to use like a saltwater rinse than to use like Listerine. So it's the same thing with your gut when you're eating this food. Also, they say these are safe levels of poison that we're going to put into our body and our kids' bodies. But really, are they testing, it might be a safe level if you have one piece of celery that's loaded with I can't say it, toxic chemicals. So if you eat that one piece of celery, but what happens if everything you stick in your mouth that day, every piece of food is loaded with that same chemical? Do they know if that's a safe level? Have they tested that long enough? No, obviously not. They haven't tested that long enough. So we don't know, and I'd rather not eat Roundup. It's known to cause cancer. It's known to cause cancer. Why would I do that? I don't even want to do it on a safe level. Do you? I don't know. I don't want to do that. So, easy ways to eat organic in the summertime. Be a part of an organic CSA, community-supported agriculture. That stands for, if you do a search, Google search, you could probably find a CSA in your area. Go to local farmers markets. Talk to the farmers, even if they're not certified organic. It's very expensive to be certified organic. You also have to pay fees on how much money you make off of your organic gardening, which I believe is absolute bullshit. So, if I was going to be a farmer where I'm selling food, I would not get certified organic. I wouldn't. And they call themselves something else when they're not certified organic, but they are organic. And you just have to talk to the farmers and see what they're doing. And if it's somebody in your community that you can get to know and trust, a lot of farmers do low spray. So there's a farm stand near me. They'll tell you if something's low spray, or they'll tell you if it's no spray, or they'll tell you they're not certified organic, but they're trying. Okay, so this is what really matters. Also, a lot of the organic produce that you might get at the food store might be old. It's been traveling for a while. You don't know where it came from. A lot of times it comes from Mexico. I don't always feel good about that. I don't think I would buy that. Honestly, I'd just rather buy just more local produce that didn't travel so far. The more it travels, the more it loses its nutrient density, right? So an easier way, in the winter, to get organic is to buy frozen vegetables. Think of it this way. They're picking the vegetables, they're freezing them right away, so it's at the top nutrient level. And a lot of times when you buy frozen, say frozen organic broccoli, it's fairly inexpensive. It's not like you go to the food store and you buy a fresh head of frozen broccoli, it's going to be expensive. I don't know why this is. This is how I buy my blueberries, because if you buy a little quart thing of organic blueberries, it's like $9. God knows what it would cost now. But if you buy frozen organic blueberries from like Aldi's, it's like $4 for like a bag, and then they're in the freezer and they don't go bad. And I just use them in my smoothies and stuff like that. So that's another way around it. Another thing to do is to go to ewg.org, and they have the clean 15 dirty dozen list. And what that does is it shows you the clean 15 are the least sprayed crops. And so those are things that maybe you don't have to worry so much about buying organic, right? And then the dirty dozen are, and there's usually more than a dozen on there for some reason, are the things that are the highest sprayed crops. Strawberry is always the highest sprayed. And believe it or not, a lot of people that are allergic to strawberries aren't actually allergic to the strawberry. They're allergic to the pesticides that are all over them. And a lot of people are allergic to strawberries. So I would buy those things organic, or try to at least. I understand food is expensive. Everything is wicked expensive. Just do your best. Don't stress too much about it, okay? Just do your best. And if you can grow food at home, even if it's in containers, I would recommend doing that. Like, you can grow almost anything in containers. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumber, you can grow anything. You can grow anything in containers. So even if you have a small space, just grow the things that you really like, or the things that you buy the most, okay? Greens, you can grow greens. Okay, so anyway, I got into a little spiel there. As far as the positive effects that this has had on me, I'm 54 years old. I'm on no medication at all. Just to kind of clarify, the type of stroke I had wasn't a stroke that's caused by the buildup of plaque in my arteries. It was not that type of stroke. So what happened to me was I had a stroke caused by excessive stress. I was under a lot of stress for like a long period of time, so like 3 or 4 years. And an artery in my neck, the inside lining of it tore, okay? So then what happened then is, anytime you have an injury, it bleeds, and then the blood clots up to stop the bleeding, right? So then it clotted up, and then it blocked the artery completely, and then I had the stroke, and then I had a clot go into my brain. So it wasn't the type of stroke where I had, plaque in my arteries and I had the risk of like heart disease and stuff like that. It wasn't that at all, but it was stress. And that's why it's so, like, deep level self-care is so important to me. And that's why this aspect of deep level self-care, eating real whole food, using food to heal the body, is so important to me, right? Because it's helped me maintain my health. So it's always been for me, how can I be the healthiest version of myself and always feel good? I want to feel good. And so I'm not on any medication. So a lot of times when you have to take medications, and I'm not against them, don't get me wrong, there's a place for medications, but I am against using them as a first resort instead of a last resort. If someone said to me, Tina, your blood sugar is high, I would not go on medication unless it was an emergency. I would figure out how to lower my blood sugar. What do I have to do? Do I have to exercise more? Do I have to eat even better? Do I have to cut all sugar out of my diet? What do I have to do? I will do it instead of going on medication, because as soon as you start going on medications, there's side effects, then there's more medications for the side effects, and it's a bad road to go down. And if you don't have to, you shouldn't. And there's definitely ways to reverse type 2 diabetes and heart disease with a strict plant-based whole food diet. If you want to learn more about that, you could follow Neil Barnard. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. He's the diabetes guy, the heart disease guy is the guy from Cornell. I can't remember his name. They both have books. The biggest difference when you're trying to work with diabetes and heart disease is lower fat levels, where I eat like high fat because I'm not dealing with any of that right now in my life. in the future, if I have to deal with that, I'll go low fat, but it's more low fat. I don't completely understand why yet. That's something I haven't learned. I've been trying to learn, and I don't really completely understand it, but they both do very low fat, like no oil. So if you see someone who's eating a plant-based diet that's no oil, they're usually trying to avoid or reverse heart disease or diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So this has opened up for me, I don't even know how to say it, like my life, honestly. You know, I feel like it's part of what saved my life. Controlling my stress was a big part too. So what I learned when I had my stroke was that it doesn't matter if you're eating pretty good and I was in the best shape of my life, let me tell you, because I was exercising my way through a stressful divorce. And so I was boxing, I was running, I was kickboxing, I was doing MMA. I was like, I did everything. I was in such good shape. But what that showed me was it's a balance between everything, and self-care and stress relief and anxiety relief and processing your feelings and all of these things are so important and part of the package. And most people don't realize this until it's too late, until they have to deal with like some type of dis-ease in the body, where for me it was a stroke. For some other people it could be an autoimmune disease. For other people it could be depression, anxiety. It could be like it could manifest in your body in so many different ways, because as humans we're just different. Our bodies are different, and we manifest these things in different ways. So I manifested it as a stroke. It's like my body telling me I needed to slow down and rest and learn to live a different way. And the 11 different self-care practices that I teach inside the Aligned and Worthy program that Kathy was talking about earlier are all the ways that I use to get myself back to health, back to more balance. And something I always like to clarify is that there's no such thing as like perfect balance. Like you don't get to like this point in your life where you're just balanced and then you just stay there. It's a continuous adjustment. So it's kind of like riding a bicycle, where you're riding along and you're shifting your weight constantly to keep yourself upright, right? But sometimes it's kind of subconscious. You know, you're not really thinking, oh, let me lean to the right, let me move my arm this way. You're not thinking that way, but it's what happens. In our lives, we have to do the same things. And a lot of us stop doing that because we're adults, we have to take care of everybody else. We feel like it's our responsibility to do this and that and this, and we're not taking care of ourselves. And we don't realize how important it is, because it takes a long time for those effects to cause harm in our bodies. It's years and years and years and years of the wrong type of environment. Then it will show up as dis-ease as we get older. Dis-ease is not something that naturally happens as we get older. There's nothing natural about that. It's just a matter of putting your body and yourself in the wrong environment and what happens over time. And as long as you create the right environment for yourself, mentally, physically, and spiritually, for your body, you can grow old and be healthy and feel good, right? You could look at this in the studies of the blue zones. So if you don't know what blue zones is, definitely look it up. I refer to it a lot because I really respect the study, because it's all different types of people all over the world, all eating different types of diets. They are mostly plant-based though, I'll give you that, but they're not all completely plant-based, but very different plant-based because of the different regions that they live in. But there's 8 different components and only one of them is nutrition. So that just shows you that you have to slow down and pay attention to what your body's telling you in order to make those adjustments to stay balanced, to move back into a state of balance. But it's a continuous lifestyle. It's not something that you do and then you reach and then you master it. It's a continuous lifestyle, because we're continuously exposed to different people, situations, and things that we have to deal with. So we have to make continuous adjustments. It's like brushing your teeth. It's just something you have to do every day. And my purpose in life is to show people how important this is, so that they realize if they take care of themselves and they put themselves first, then they can put their best selves back out into the world and feel good while they're doing it. And so I wanted to come on here and talk about how important the plant-based diet is for me and why it's important to me. And I also want to stress to people not to get sucked into like a very strict specific diet lifestyle. Like I always say, I eat the Tina diet, and I really don't give a fuck what anybody thinks of me. I don't care if all the vegan people hate me. I just don't care, because this is what works for me, and I know what's right for me. And that might change. Like, you know, a year down the road, I might not eat any eggs. Maybe they don't agree with me. I don't think I'll ever eat meat again. I really don't. But it's about doing what feels good to you and what's healthy for you, you know? So I know I figured this out over time. I was vegan for a long time. I missed my eggs. I wanted my eggs. Sometimes I feel like my body needs something. I don't know what it is, but I just feel it. I don't necessarily think honey is bad. I think honey has a lot of really great properties, and I use it in my skincare and all kinds of stuff. And I'm lucky enough to also live in an area where there's tons and tons of local, small, little farms that make honey very ethically, all scattered through the Catskills. There's tons of farms that actually support rare types of bees, and they make honey. Okay, so you really have to look into these things. And when you're too focused on being really strict about a certain type of diet, it's never good. It's no fucking fun. So don't do that to yourself. Experiment. See what feels good. Like, I noticed the difference when I was training for that triathlon. I felt the difference because I was training, because I was recovering from hard workouts. I could feel the difference. It might not be as noticeable to someone who's not working out heavily, and maybe if I wasn't training at that time, I wouldn't have noticed it as much. But it was extremely noticeable, my energy levels. I was also like in my 40s, like moving into that middle age where you start to like feel like different. You don't recover as quickly. And it was just so magical. I felt like I shaved 10 years off of my life. You know, it was just fantastic. So I'm going to end on that note and also say to you, remind you, like I said earlier, you don't have to be completely plant-based to get a lot of these benefits. Just add some plant-based options into your life. If you are interested in learning how to cook plant-based, I have another Facebook group that I just started. It's really small. I haven't really promoted it too much, but I'm starting to promote it now because I'm just enjoying it right now. I enjoy doing the cooking. So I just do live cooking demos on there. That's it. It's very unprofessional, just so you know. I am not a chef. I did study culinary nutrition, but I am not a chef. There's a difference, right? So yes, I lick my fingers. Yes, my hair is down. Yes, I touch my face. These are things I've been criticized for in the past, so I'm just telling you that. But you will learn how to cook different plant-based dishes, and so you can join that group. It's called Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy. I'll put like a link in the comments if you're interested. And if you have any questions, I'm here to help. I don't mind answering questions. Just message me on here. You can post a question below too. I'm always open to answer any type of questions about, like, if you're trying to lower your blood sugar, or, you know, eat healthier for like heart disease and stuff like that. Definitely willing to help you with that. I've had some friends that have been really successful with that, and also some clients that have been really successful with mostly lowering their blood sugar. So I would love to help you. I would love to do anything that could help you feel better and moving to your older self, feeling healthy and energized. So definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. Definitely join the group if you're even slightly curious and you want to watch some plant-based cooking. Yesterday I made a tofu scramble with a bunch of crap from my garden. Oh my God, like a huge zucchini. I've eaten all that, by the way, Kathy. I ate half of it. Like, I'm so embarrassed to say that because you saw how much that was. But it was mostly zucchini, so it wasn't that filling. It was like kind of light, actually. So I ate half of it, and then I ate the rest for breakfast today. So I ate all of that. It was like this big zucchini I shredded and put in there. So anyway, that was the last thing I cooked. I'm going to be going live. I'm also going to be doing things like creating like salad dressings, vegan mayonnaise, how to make plant-based milk. So freaking easy. It really is. There is the one thing that you need. You don't really need it, but you need a really good blender. Like if you're going to be making, if you like cooking and you want to be making these plant-based whole foods, you want a good blender, like a Blend Tech or a Vitamix. You really, like even the NutriBullet will do. But really the Blend Tech or the Vitamix, I can only speak for myself when it comes to Vitamix because that's what I have, but I know a lot of people who go to Blend Tech and they're very similar. I know that. You don't have to have one. They're pretty expensive, but oh my God, it just makes everything so easy and magical. Absolutely. So I'm going to leave you on that note. Post questions below. You can message me. You can email me, tina@tinastinson.com. Join my Facebook group. I'll put that below. And I will see you next Sunday. So I hope you have a great day for the rest of your day. Kathy, I'll see you soon. Also, what was I going to say? I'm thinking about doing a reset program next month for plant-based. So if you're interested in like transitioning over to a plant-based diet, I'm going to be doing a program, a group. I want it to be a group program, and I'm only going to do it if there's interest. So it's going to be a reset program where we'll have like meal plans. We'll be transitioning over to a plant-based diet. There'll be cooking demos. There's going to be a couple of master classes on mindful eating and intuitive eating, and it's going to be mostly about diet and nutrition, but it is not about weight loss. I want to be very clear. I am not a weight loss coach. So it's really about cleaning up your diet and feeling good, getting energized again, and resetting after the summer. Just getting like, almost like a, you too, Kathy, I'll see you later. A healthy start to the fall. Okay, I'll see you guys later. So if you're interested in that, just send me a message. I'll be posting more about it, but definitely if you have any interest, send me a message. Okay, bye.